Hello po, ako po si Art. Mahilig po ako sa animals. Mahilig din po ako mag-drawing. Alam niyo po ba, laging animals po ang dinodrawing ko. Kapag animals nga ang itinuturo sa school, excited na excited akong mag-recite. Alam na alam ko po kaya yung mga habitats nila. Sabi ni Ma'am, bawat animal daw po ay may kani-kanyang habitat kung saan sila matatagpuan. Nandun rin po ang lahat ng kanilang kailangan. Ibig sabihin, nasa habitat ang kailangan nila para mabuhay. May mga maliliit na animals tulad ng mga fox at raccoon. Masaya silang namumuhay sa rainforest na siyang nagbibigay sa kanila ng pagkain. May mga hayop naman na protective sa kanilang habitat, tulad ng mga lion. Ang mga lion ay makikita sa savannas at grasslands. Kilala sila bilang king of the jungle. Pero alam nyo ba may mas malaki pa sa lions? Yung mga tiger. Ang mga tiger ay makikita sa mga tropical forest or mangrove swamps, kung saan malapit ang tubig at marami silang mahuhuling prey o pagkain. Bukod sa mammals, may animals na naglalakbay sa himpapawid, tulad ng mga birds o mga ibon. Makukulay at iba-iba ang anyo nila. Kapag nakita mo, hindi maaalis ang tingin mo sa kanila. At syempre, may mga hayop na ang habitat nila ay tulad ng ocean o dagat. Ang mga hayop sa dagat, tulad ng isda, ay masayang lumalangoy sa malinis at malinaw na tubig. Pero, ang sabi sa akin ni Lolo, sa panahon ngayon ay unti-unti nang nahihirapan ng mga animals. Naabuso na daw kasi ang iba sa kanila. Ginagawa silang transportasyon o sasakyan ng mga turista. Ang ilan ay pinag-eeksperimentuhan o di kay pandekorasyon sa tahanan. Naagawan na rin sila ng tirahan at mapagkukunan ng pagkain. At ang malungkot, ang iba ay malapit na mawala ng tuluyan. Mahal ko ang mga animals at ang kalikasan na siyang nagbibigay sa kanila ng kanilang habitat o tirahan at pagkain. Gusto ko pa silang makita sa paglaki ko. Ayokong dumating ang panahon na drawing na lang ang makikita ko at mga alaala na lang sila. Paano na lang mga mas bata pa sa akin? May maaabutan pa ba silang pwedeng i-drawing?
This is one of the few films na, even if I had to go to the bathroom, di ako makatayo talaga kasi talagang na-engage ako. This is storytelling at its best.
Ganda-ganda ng pelikula, drama and comedy. For sure, makakapulot po kayo ng magandang aral at dun sa mga nakakaranas ng depression. Ito yung pelikula na mag-aano sa atin para hindi ma-depress sa buhay.
Action ko, ang ganda ng pelikula. Kompleto siya. Basang-basa yung panyo ko kakaya. At saka papatawanin, ang galing ng bata. Yung mga kulturang nakakalimutan na natin na pwede ibalik dito.
Na-break niya yung superstar system dito sa movie. na pwede din gumawa ng isang magandang pelikula without any name stars.
Napakaganda ng pelikula, napakagaling ng director at ng cast. Napanood ko yung part 1. Mas maganda pa rin tong part 2 at nag-step up.
Kaya mga kababayan, inikayat ko kayong panoodin nyo ang Guerrero 2.
Yes, I highly recommend po yung pelikula. Panoorin niyo po.
Kailangan mapanood talaga ng mas nakakarami pang mga Pilipino.
Hello everyone, inibigay ko kayo manood ng Guerrero 2, Tuloy ang Laban.
Guerrero 2, Tuloy ang Laban.
Guerrero 2, tuloy ang laban.
Guerrero 2,
Guerrero 2, Guerrero 2,
Guerrero 2,
Tuloy ang laban. Tuloy ang laban. Tuloy pa rin ang laban.
Tuloy ang laban. Guerrero 2, tuloy ang laban.
Now in its 51st year, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation has held various child care and development programs. With the support of participating organizations and sponsors, EBC conducted the following activities. Sports clinic program wherein basketball coaches and players taught students the importance of discipline.
So if I say 3 claps, 2 claps, 1, 2, 3, 0.
Confidence,
Fire! Stance!
and teamwork. Free haircut, free massage, feeding programs, school supplies distribution, and storytelling spearheaded by Net 25 Kids.
Sa kanya, nagkasakit po. Nagkasakit.
EBC Cares, enabling a better community.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Mga isyung panlipunan. Mga isyung pampolitika. Tatalakayin, lilinawin, kasama ang mga batikang komentarista, Congressman Dante Marcoleta at Jen Sobartiaga sa Ganang Mamamayan. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga.
Mga kababayan, lalo na sa mga OFWs sa Middle East at North Africa, may good news kami para sa inyo. Mapapanood na ninyo ang Net 25 at iba pang Filipino channels na hatid ng OSN sa presyong abot kaya. Libre ng box at installation, walang admin fees at no extra charges. Saktong entertainment na sakto lang sa budget mo. Bumisita na sa pinakamalapit na OSN store o dealer and subscribe now! sa Net25 at OSN, siguradong at home ka dito.
Hey guys, Marie here. I'm in Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. Denver got its nickname the Mile High due to its elevation being 1 mile or 5,280 feet above sea level. For more fun facts such as this, tune in to Digital Nest on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Digital Nest EBC, to catch all the episodes right at your fingertips. I'm Marie Dumayak, EBC Colorado correspondent. I'm 1 to 25.
We live in interesting times for the headlines. Typhoon Kamuri lashes the Philippines with fierce winds and heavy rains as hundreds of thousands take refuge in shelters in Manila to shut down its international airport. And this decade is said to be the hottest in history, the United Nations said in an annual assessment outlining the ways in which climate change is outpacing humanity's ability to adapt to it. And health authorities in American Samoa continue to battle the measles epidemic that has so far killed 53 people. We have an update from our EBC correspondent there. And Vancouver's just opened a market showcasing modern Filipino culture. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us, and now to the news. Typhoon Kamuri killed at least 2 people in the Philippines as it tore roofs and houses and forced the international airport in Manila to shut down. Take a look. The storm roared ashore late Monday and passed south of Manila, home to 13 million people and thousands of athletes at the regional Southeast Asian Games. As the typhoon was exiting the Philippines, it hit one last major landmass, the central island of Mindoro, where one man was crushed by a falling tree and another killed by a flying piece of lumber, according to police. Ahead of the storm's arrival, a 33-year-old man was electrocuted on Monday while securing a roof against the winds, which by late Tuesday weakened to a maximum of 140 kilometers per hour. Authorities were still assessing the storm's impact, but a small local airport was seriously damaged. Many power poles toppled and homes were battered. About 340,000 people had been evacuated from their homes in the central Bicol region, according to disaster officials. Kamuri had already snarled some plans for the SEA Games, which opened Saturday and are set to run through December 11 in and around Manila. The typhoon forced organizers to reschedule about half of the events set for Tuesday, but they pledged the competition would finish on time. And Manila's International Airport was shut down after Typhoon Kamuri lashed the Philippines with fierce winds and heavy rains, as hundreds of thousands took refuge in shelters. Here are some reactions from stranded passengers in the airport.
I was in Cebu. I took the 5:50 flight. I landed around 7 o'clock. It was the most turbulent flight I ever took in my life. Just discovered what air sickness is.
Pagod at puyat. Hassle kasi marami kami dala. Tapos nakatenga dito.
A total of 508 international and domestic flights to and from Manila were canceled as of Tuesday afternoon. MIA General Manager Ed Monreal announced Monday night that the Ninoy Aquino International Airport will be closed on Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. in anticipation of the possible onslaught of Typhoon Tisoy, international name Kamuri. He also said the 12-hour period may be longer or shorter depending on the wind situation. Once airport operations resume, priority will be given to flights originally scheduled from 11 p.m. onwards. Recovery flights will follow. For the next 3 days, the regular schedule for runway maintenance, which is 1:30 a.m. to 3:30 a.m., will be allotted to accommodate more recovery flights, according to Monreal. Meanwhile, local carriers have already canceled a number of their flights to and from airports outside Manila due to the typhoon. This decade is said to be the hottest in history, according to the United Nations, in an annual assessment outlining the ways in which climate change is outpacing humanity's ability to adapt to it.
The last 10 years have been the warmest period during this 170 years period.
The World Meteorological Organization said global temperatures so far this year were 1.1 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Fahrenheit above the pre-industrial average, putting 2019 on course to be in the top 3 warmest years ever recorded. Man-made emissions from burning fossil fuels, building infrastructure, growing crops, and transporting goods mean 2019 is set to break the record for atmospheric carbon concentrations, locking in further warming according to the WMO. Oceans, which absorb 90% of the excess heat produced by greenhouse gases, are now at their highest recorded temperatures. The world's seas are now a quarter more acidic than 150 years ago, threatening vital marine ecosystems upon which billions of people rely for food and jobs. In October, the global mean sea level reached its highest on record, fueled by the 329 billion tons of ice lost from the Greenland ice sheet in 12 months. Meanwhile, this year's annual UN Climate Change Conference, known as COP25, begins in Madrid, where 29,000 visitors are expected over the next 2 weeks, including 50 heads of state. Now, ahead of the conference, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres outlined or underlined the meeting's urgency, saying that the climate crisis could soon reach the point of no return.
Climate change is no longer a long-term problem. We are confronted now with a global climate crisis. And the point of no return is no longer over the horizon. It is in sight and hurtling towards us. However, my message here today is one of hope, not of despair. Our war against nature must stop, and we know that that is possible. The scientific community has provided us with a roadmap to achieve this. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, we must limit global temperatures rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, reach carbon neutrality by 2050, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 45% from 2010 levels by 2030.
In his impassioned appeal, Mr. Gutierrez cited new findings from the World Meteorological Organization confirming that the last 5 years have been the hottest ever recorded. Concentration of planet warming CO2 in the atmosphere has also reached levels not seen in a million years, according to scientists. The UN chief warned that failing to act risks jeopardizing the health and safety of everyone on this planet.
We stand at a critical juncture in our collective efforts to limit dangerous global heating. By the end of the coming decade, we will be on one of two paths. One is the path of surrender, where we have sleepwalked past the point of no return, jeopardizing the health and safety of everyone on this planet. Do we really want to be remembered as the generation that buried its head in the sand, that fiddled while the planet burned? The other option is the path of hope, a path of resolve, of sustainable solutions, a path where more fossil fuels remain where they should be, in the ground, and where we are on the way to carbon neutrality by 2050. Permafrost in the Arctic is thawing 70 years ahead of projections, and Antarctica is melting 3 times as fast as a decade ago. Ocean levels are rising quicker than expected, putting some of our biggest and most economically important cities at risk. More than 2/3 of the world's megacities are located by the sea. But we are still waiting for transformative movement from most G20 countries, which represent more than 3/4 of global emissions.
En un tiempo marcado, delegados y delegadas, por el silencio de algunos, Europa tiene mucho que decir en esta batalla. En primer lugar, porque así lo demandan nuestras sociedades, pero también por una cuestión, si me permiten, de elemental justicia histórica. Si fue Europa quien lideró la revolución industrial y el capitalismo fósil, ha de ser Europa quien lidere la descarbonización.
Now, we need to dramatically change how we do things and revolutionize our approach. We have had the industrial revolution, the technological revolution. Now it's time for the green revolution.
By coming here, we want to say to everyone, we're still in. The United States is still in. Our delegation is here to send a message that Congress's commitment to take action on the climate crisis is ironclad.
Last month, President Trump gave formal notice of the U.S. withdrawal from the 196-nation Paris Climate Treaty, which calls for capping global warming at well below 2 degrees Celsius or 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit and 1.5 degrees Celsius if possible. President Trump has dismissed global warming as a hoax and dismantled many of the climate and environmental protection policies set in place by his predecessor, Barack Obama. The talks in Madrid are focused on finalizing rules for global carbon markets and setting up a fund to help countries already reeling from climate-enhanced heat waves, droughts, floods, and storms made worse by rising seas. The Vice President Wei Shi-zhong told SEA Games organizers that the Philippines now is ready to host a larger-scale sporting event. Speaking on Monday along with Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee officials at the World Trade Center in Pasay City, Vice President Wei said he is satisfied with how the organizers are running the show, from attending the early glitches to the lavish opening ceremonies at the Philippine Arena. Take a look.
We win as one. For me, this means the solidarity of Southeast Asia countries. Most important is the friendship. And we are working for a better future of the world. in the Philippine arena. Philippine arena. I think the Philippine arena, perhaps, I'm not sure, is the unique, biggest indoor arena in the world. We witnessed the enthusiasm of all the participants, all the athletes. You allow all the athletes to walk in. The parade is the honor for the athlete. Philippines is capable to organize bigger scale games.
Meanwhile, Senator Richard Gordon expressed his pride with the successful 30th SEA Games opening held at the Philippine Arena, which has wowed not just those inside the Philippine Arena, but audiences all over the world. Gordon, who attended the opening ceremonies along with volunteers and staff of the Philippine Red Cross, which he chairs, said that witnessing the spectacular opening ceremonies inside the 55,000-seater arena was truly wonderful and something to be proud of for all Filipinos. A large number of spectators braved the heat as they queued up to get inside the 55,000-seater Philippine Arena. It was also watched from different parts of the world as nations cheer for their own countries as they paraded with their banners and team representatives. Our ASEAN Bureau correspondents were able to get some reactions from their regions. Let's hear some of them.
I'm here with Zu to talk about the ongoing SEA Games. What can you say about the Philippine Arena?
So I think the Philippines Arena is a very suitable location for the opening and closing ceremony. By the way, the opening ceremony is totally magnificent. Okay, I think number one is because of the capacity of the arena. I think it can actually keep like more than 50,000 people. As we all know, for this kind of event, there'll be more people coming from outside Philippines. Yeah, and this is also the time where tourists will come and visit Philippines, and especially Manila and some other parts of these Philippines. And then some more, I think the location of the arena is slightly outside Manila, so I think this is the opportunity for the tourists to explore Philippines, to explore other parts of Philippines, because I think all this while tourists only come to Manila. So because of this opening and closing ceremony, so people get a chance to explore other parts of Philippines.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Now, do you think Asian Games like this will bring closeness or will separate ASEAN nations?
Of course, this will bring closeness of all nations because this is the chance where all people, the contestants especially from all around ASEAN to come and gather. They will be sharing the same, I don't know, they call it village, isn't it? Where they will be putting all the contestants in this, area. Right. So they got the chance to meet each other better. And then even though they are competing for certain sports, by the end of the day, they will mingle around and get to know each other better.
Here with Ranger Eric to hear his reaction about Philippine Arena. Ranger?
I think the Philippine Arena is a world-class facility. I've watched the SEA Games and I really like it. I think the presentation of the Philippine culture was quite impressive.
Thank you. Do you think the SEA Games will unite or separate the Southeast Asian countries?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to unite the ASEAN countries because that's pretty much the representation of different cultures and different backgrounds from different countries. And I think all of this kind of sports activities signifies unity of different countries.
Yeah, Thailand. I think Thailand will do well in the SEA Games this year. We tend to do well in the football at least. So I hope they do well. I heard the Philippines are hosting a very historic SEA Games, and go Team Thailand.
Hi everyone, I'm a team from Thailand. I heard a lot of good things about SEA Games 2019 and the opening ceremony at Philippine Arena. and I'm so excited. Of course, and I can't wait to see it. Susu na krab, Thailand.
Hi everyone, my name is Nova Romero from Singapore. I'm so excited that 30th Southeast Asian Games will be held in Philippines. We win as one.
Yes, for Cambodia, we also send our Cambodian athletes to join the SEA Games in Philippines. So I wish Cambodian athletes get medals from the SEA Games in Philippines, and because it's very important, ASEAN country, we have 10 countries, and sport also very important for us, especially we unity in one for country in ASEAN.
I'm here with Mara to get her reactions about the SEA Games held in the Philippines.
Hi, my name is Mara Filipino and I'm working here in Cambodia. So from the bottom of my heart, I really do support all the Filipino athletes in our country. Mabuhay mga Filipinos!
Thank you very much. From Cambodia, this is Ludivina Otador, ABC correspondent.
Hi, we are here at Thailand and we are going to get the reaction of our fellow Filipino regarding the SEA Games activity. What can you say about the said event?
Hello everyone, I am Nashalmi Margasinho. I'm a teacher here in Thailand and I am one of the Filipinos who really love to play volleyball. So as a sports lover, so I should give my full support as a Filipino to our athletes in the Philippines, especially that the venue is going to be or is happening in our country. So we're very proud of you and we know that you can do it.
It's actually sent as one of the competitors in a wushu game. Wished Brunei will get one of the category for at least for gold for that for Brunei. Good luck for you guys. Hope you guys will win a lot of medals, okay? And enjoy while you are in Manila. It's a nice place to stay and get a lot of friends from other countries.
Boxer turned politician Pacquiao, one of the greatest ever fighters, appeared right at the end of the 100-minute show to ignite the game's cauldron in Clark. Now, athletes and delegates from the 11 competing nations then paraded around the 55,000-seat venue in traditional Philippine pageant style, with many waving national flags and taking selfies. The loudest cheer of the night came when President Duterte sat alongside the Sultan of Brunei. Hassan al-Bolkiah was seen dancing and clapping along to the Philippine team's parade music, Manila by Hot Dog. There were musical performances from Apple the App, the Filipino-American rapper best known for being a hip-hop group, the Black Eyed Peas. Local crooner Robert Sena, and the Philippines' national anthem was sung by Lani Misalucha, known as Asia's Nightingale. And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
Soccer, the world's favorite sport. And it's no wonder. Spectacular goals and plenty of emotion. The best of game day. Kickoff.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization.
To battle the measles epidemic that has so far killed 53 people. The government said almost 200 new measles cases had been recorded since Sunday, with the rate of infection showing no signs of slowing. We have an update coming in from our EBC correspondent there, Arian Torres. Arian?
Talofa, this is Arian Torres Luan, your EBC correspondent here in American Samoa. Here is an update on the ongoing measles outbreak in the independent state of Samoa. The latest number of fatalities in the country has now reached 55 out of thousands of cases already confirmed since October. There was supposed to be a press conference hosted by the Department of Health last Friday. However, for some reason, the press briefing got cancelled at the last minute. I did speak personally with the Deputy Director of Department of Health, who confirmed to me that Governor Lolo Molina called for some type of emergency meeting with the key government leaders. Whether or not it has something to do with the measles epidemic remains to be determined. For now, as you can see behind me are the pack of people from the community, parents along with their children waiting for their turn to get the MMR vaccine. And according to Samoa Observer via Twitter, Samoa government plans to shut down some of its offices and services this week. And meanwhile, there are 153 cases of measles as of today. This is all for now. Reporting from Pango in American Samoa, I am Arian Torres Suwan, always one with 25 Papitay Telelawan.
Thank you, Arian. U.S. President Donald Trump launched a two-day NATO meeting with a blistering attack on France's criticism of the alliance and on, quote, delinquent members that don't pay their way. At a news conference held to celebrate NATO's success in cajoling European allies to boost their defense spending, President Trump could not resist lashing out at President Emmanuel Macron. President Macron had tried to shake up the agenda for the London summit by branding the 70-year-old Western alliance as brain dead. But President Trump slapped him down and warned that he could see Paris breaking away from NATO. Take a look.
It's a tough statement, though, when you make a statement like that. That is a very nasty statement to essentially 28, including them, 28 countries. I think that, you have a very high unemployment rate in France. France is not doing well economically at all.
If the Macron comments set an angry tone for the meeting, there are also expected to be clashes with Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who was also furious with the French leader.
Kimse sana bakmıyor. Henüz daha acemiliğin var. Bunları gider. İnanın çok tecrübesiz. Ve terörle mücadele nedir bilmiyor. İşte onun için sarı yelekliler bütün Fransa'yı işgal etti. İstila etti.
French officials summoned the Turkish envoy in Paris to complain, while a U.S. administration official predicted that many members would tackle Turkey over its purchase of a Russian S-400 air defense system. Turkey, in turn, has warned it will block a NATO plan to defend Baltic countries unless the alliance recognizes a Kurdish militant group as terrorists, according to President Erdogan before the summit. In other news, an American woman who claims she was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein to have sex with Prince Andrew criticized the ridiculous excuses from the royal side in an interview aired on Monday. The interview was recorded before Andrew's own BBC interview, which prompted him to stand down from public duties because of a backlash at his defense of his friendship with Epstein. But Virginia Giuffre called on the British public to support her as she dismissed claims initially made by the prince's backers that a photograph apparently showing him with his arm around her might not be genuine.
Asked me to dance. He is the most hideous dancer I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was horrible, and this guy was sweating all over me. Like, his sweat was like, it was raining basically everywhere, and I was just like, whoa, grossed out from it. But I knew I had to keep him happy because that's what Jeffrey and Chilean would expect from me. People on the inside are going to keep coming up with these ridiculous excuses, like his arm was elongated, or the photo was doctored, or he came to New York to break up with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, come on. I'm calling BS on this because that's what it is. He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us telling the truth, and I know that's me. For the people in the UK to stand up beside me, to help me fight this fight, to not accept this as being okay. This is not some sordid sex story. This is a story of being trafficked.
Prince Andrew himself doubted the authenticity of the photograph during his badly received interview, saying nobody can prove whether or not that the photograph has been doctored. And she accused Epstein of bringing her to London in 2001, where she was introduced to Prince Andrew and Epstein's socialite girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. The prince asked her for a dance at a nightclub. She recalled telling Panorama he was, as we heard earlier, the most hideous dancer I've ever seen in my life. His sweat was like it was raining basically everywhere. We heard that earlier. Now, the prince told the BBC he was unable to sweat at the time due to a medical condition he developed after serving as a helicopter pilot in the Falklands War in 1982. Prince Andrew, 59, said he didn't remember meeting Geoffrey and that he absolutely and categorically did not have relations with her.
She says she met you in 2001. She says she dined with you, danced with you at Tramp nightclub in London. She went on to have sex with you in a house in Belgravia belonging to Ghislaine Maxwell, your friend. Your response?
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
You don't remember meeting her?
No.
Panorama reported that Prince Andrew could be served with subpoenas if he returns to the U.S., with lawyers for 5 of Epstein's victims demanding that the prince testify in their court cases about how he witnessed people being given massages. After his BBC interview, Andrew issued a statement in which he said, quote, "I unequivocally regret my ill-judged association with Jeffrey Epstein and deeply sympathize with everyone who has been affected and wants some form of closure." A statement from the Buckingham Palace said they emphatically denied that the Duke of York, Prince Andrew, had any form of contact or relationship with Virginia Roberts at the time. In other news, 2 Indonesian soldiers were injured after a smoke grenade detonated near Jakarta's National Monument, but authorities ruled out an attack. The blast occurred around 7 a.m. local time as military and police personnel were taking a morning jog around the leafy grounds in the center of the capital. There's a military barracks on the grounds of the National Monument. Jakarta Police Chief Gatot Eri said there was no indication of an attack. Indonesia, the world's biggest Muslim-majority nation, has long struggled with Islamist militancy and has suffered regular attacks. In October, Indonesian President Joko Widodo ordered beefed-up security after 2 militants from a terror group stabbed his chief security minister. He survived the attack, which led to the arrest of dozens of suspects. 8 children were among 11 civilians killed Monday in a Turkish artillery attack that hit near a school in a northern Syrian town in Aleppo province, according to a war monitor. The shelling on Tal Rifa'at, controlled by local Kurdish fighters, took place as students were leaving the building and wounded 21 others, according to the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Most of those killed in the attack were displaced from the Afrin region, which was captured last year by Turkish troops and their Syrian proxies, according to Observatory head Rami Abdelrahman. Tal Rifa'at, a strategic town located 20 kilometers south of Turkey's frontier, is the site of regular confrontations between Turkish-backed forces and Kurdish fighters they view as terrorists. Turkey threatened to launch a cross-border offensive to capture Tal Rifa'at last year after taking Afrin from the US-backed People's Protection Unit's militia, or YPG. But Russia intervened to stop the planned offensive. In October, it said it agreed to work with Turkey to remove all YPG militia elements and their weapons from Tal Rifa'at. But in early November, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Kurdish terror groups had still not left. After media interest helped mobilize the evacuation of an Albanian boy from northern Syria last month, families of other children of Islamic State fighters are pleading with Tirana to redouble its efforts and bring the rest home. The boy's homecoming has also opened a ray of hope for other families in Albania who have been struggling for years to bring back youth snatched by their jihadist parents. Now, Mide Dumani, a 46-year-old mother who lives on the outskirts of Tirana, her entire body shaking with nerves. Her children are among around 30 Albanian youngsters that Tirana believes are stuck in Syria. Take a look.
Shteti ju bën gjatë vjetë që I kërkej, në ku bën sot. Me sjellin fëmijët, pran familjes, pran nanës që I ka rritë. Të rritën ato si fëmijë tjerë.
Now, most are in the dusty Al Hol encampment, a tent city home to more than 70,000 people, mostly relatives of ISIS militants who were rounded up by Kurds. Dumani has not seen her two children since her husband ferried them off to Syria in February of 2014. He was killed a few months later, leaving Eva and Andri, now aged 13 and 11, to fend for their own. From time to time, she receives phone calls and messages from Eva. Life inside the camp is very hard. We are all in danger, her daughter wrote in a recent WhatsApp message. Over the past 6 years, Dumani's relatives have gone to Turkey and to Egypt in desperate attempts to make contacts to get the children out. Now their 72-year-old grandmother, Menti, has also gone to Syria twice. The first time she tried to convince her son to come home. Then, after his death, she attempted to retrieve the grandchildren but found herself stuck with them in Al Hol, where she remains today. Mide Dumani has now pinned all of her hope on the Albanian government, who helped Damascus and Rome with the return of Alvin Berisha since the fall in March of the ISIS caliphate proclaimed in 2014. The international community has struggled with the thorny task of repatriating relatives of militants who were captured or killed in Syria and Iraq. And according to official figures, some 144 people from Albania, a country with a Muslim majority, left to join ISIS between 2012 and 2014, when the Balkan state passed a law punishing participation in foreign conflicts. In other news, high school students jumped over subway turnstiles and open gates for people to evade payment, a move that ignited the social unrest for the 7th week in Chile. Take a look. Demonstrations have become an almost daily occurrence in the capital Santiago and elsewhere in the country, and regularly degenerate into violence, fires, and even looting. The country's worst crisis in decades has seen furious Chileans take to the streets to protest social and economic inequality and against an entrenched political elite that comes from a small number of the country's wealthiest families, among other issues. President Piñera's government has announced a raft of reforms to end the crisis, including the drafting of a new constitution to replace the current one that dates back to the dictatorship of General Augusto Pinochet, who ruled from 1973 to 1990. But trade unions and many demonstrators are asking the government to go further, including by increasing the minimum wage by 50% and by replacing the private pension system inherited from the Pinochet era. In other news, a man and a woman have been rescued after surviving 2 weeks in Australia's arid outback on little more than vodka, groundwater, and biscuits. but a third person is still missing according to police. Take a look. The three friends set out to explore the country's vast sun-baked interior near Alice Springs on November 19 when their car became bogged down in a riverbed. After 3 days staying put and waiting for a rescue, the group feared supplies were dwindling and two of them decided to walk a property fence line in the hope of finding help. Police said Tuesday that a local rancher had found the man, a 40-year-old Put Tran, slightly disorientated but in a good condition, a 2-day walk from the vehicle. Take a look.
He has advised us, pastoralists, that he had located water along the way. They got to the boundary fence, and at that stage he was still with Claire Hockridge. He had decided that he was going to continue and to follow the fence line until he found the station or more water, and he'd left her there. He continued to walk along that. It took him about 2 days, and he approached the pastoralist today, and first thing he did was went to the tank and got some water. He's in a good condition. He was slightly disorientated, the pastoralist said, but other than that, he was in good condition. He had a drink of water. The pastoralist has then taken him back to the homestead and given him a feed, and he's able to talk and in good spirits.
We had to drink from that to survive. And then we moved up a little bit further, which had a lot more trees. So we had a bit more shelter because it was getting really hot. And we all cuddled together, and the dog, the four of us, all lined up, cuddled together to keep warm over night time once we were away from the vehicle.
To other news now, India's Vikram lunar lander, which crashed on its final approach to the moon's surface in September, has been found, thanks in part to the sleuthing efforts of an amateur space enthusiast. NASA made the announcement on Monday, releasing an image taken by its Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, or LRO, that showed the site of the spacecraft's impact. September 7 in India and September 6 in the U.S. In a statement, NASA said it released a mosaic image of the site on September 26, but taken on September 17, inviting the public to compare it with images of the same area before the crash to find signs of the lander. The first person to come up with a positive identification was Shanmuga Shan Subramanian, a 33-year-old IT professional from Chennai, who told AFP that NASA's inability to find the lander on its own had sparked his interest. Blasting off in July, emerging Asian giant India had hoped with its Chandrayaan-2 or Moon Vehicle 2 mission to become just the fourth country after the United States, Russia, and regional rival China to make a successful moon landing and the first on the lunar South Pole. The main spacecraft, which remains in orbit around the moon, dropped the unmanned lander Vikram for a descent that would take 5 days, but the probe went silent just 2.1 kilometers above the surface. Days after the failed landing, the Indian Space Research Organization said it had located the lander but hadn't been able to establish communication. Eagle News will be right back. Stay tuned.
Micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
France warned the United States of strong EU retaliation if it imposed tariffs on key French products, ranging from sparkling wine to cheese to handbags, in an intensifying row over taxing digital giants that risks spiraling into a new trade war.
Contestons le principe même de sanctions, car ce n'est pas entre alliés la bonne politique et ce n'est pas la bonne voie à suivre. Mais les États-Unis doivent savoir que s'ils s'engageaient dans un nouveau train de sanctions contre la France, l'Union européenne serait prête à réagir et prête à réagir fortement.
The French Parliament earlier this year infuriated the administration of President Trump by passing a law taxing digital giants like Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon for revenues earned inside the country. France, backed by Britain, argues that the digital giants must pay taxes on revenues accrued in a country, even if their physical headquarters is elsewhere. But Washington fears that U.S. companies have been singled out. The dispute risks opening another front for the United States in a succession of trade disputes. The U.S. and China are already embroiled in a trade war, and President Trump said tariffs would be reinstated on Argentina and Brazil, accusing them of manipulating their currencies and hurting U.S. farmers. Talks to resolve the issue amicably have so far failed, and on Monday, the United States threatened to impose tariffs of up to 100% on $2.4 billion in French goods like sparkling wine, yogurt, and Roquefort cheese. Former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak was a victim of the multi-million-dollar 1MDB scandal that saw state coffers drained on his watch, according to his lawyer on Tuesday, as the ex-premier gave evidence in his own fraud trial. Huge sums were stolen from Sovereign Wealth Fund 1 Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB, allegedly by the ex-prime minister and his cronies, and spent on everything from high-end real estate to artwork. Now, Najib's coalition was ousted at the polls last year after 6 decades in power, largely due to public anger over the scandal. He has since been arrested and hit with dozens of charges linked to the looting of the investment vehicle. His lawyer, Muhammad Shafi Abdullah, said Najib is not part of the conspiracy, but he is a victim.
The leader of the pack was obviously Jolo. And the crux of my defense is the entire scheme was devised by Jolo together with 4 Arabs. Okay?
Joe Low portrayed himself as someone influential in the Middle East countries. Najib told the packed courtroom, speaking calmly during 5 hours of testimony. He said, "I thought his influence and connections will help 1MDB achieve its goal and attract investments." Najib, 66, went on trial in April over the controversy in a case centered on the transfer of 42 million ringgit, or $10.1 million, from former 1MDB unit SRC International into his bank accounts. Hundreds of workers from Hong Kong's advertising industry gathered for a rally in support of the city's anti-government protests. The financial hub has been rocked by nearly 6 months of unrest, demanding greater autonomy, which Beijing has frequently blamed on foreign influence.
I think we're expecting it would be a tough year in next year, but then I think there are a lot of values which are more important than just the economies, and like for us, we are ready to sacrifice our money or our security to fight for what we really value.
Because we are a media agency, and in advertising sector, there are maybe creative agency or production house or media agency. I think it affects the creativity of, the freedom and democracy will affect our creativity of. I think this is very peaceful, and I think the cost is not very high to have a weak strike. Yes, but economy is Hong Kong, the core of Hong Kong, and I think to affect that strike is a good way to do so.
We saw police using excessive abuse to citizens or to protesters. So we are really furious about that, and we would like to use, as we are one of the sector in Hong Kong, to stand out here and support the protesters and stand with Hong Kong. Yeah.
Protesters in Hong Kong are pushing for greater democratic freedoms and police accountability, but the city's pro-Beijing leadership has refused any major political concessions. The increasingly violent rallies have hammered the retail and tourism sectors, with mainland Chinese visitors abandoning the city in droves. The city's finance chief warned that Hong Kong is set to record its first budget deficit in 15 years. Italian bank UniCredit said it would eliminate 8,000 jobs in Western Europe and close 500 branches by 2023 to cut costs by €1 billion. The measures, which were outlined in UniCredit's 2020 to 2023 China should adopt a plan that will see electric vehicles make up a quarter of all autos sold in the country in 6 years' time, according to the industry ministry, as the sector struggles with falling sales. A draft blueprint for the development of the new energy vehicle sector, which includes hybrids and fully electric vehicles, comes after the government withdrew subsidies for car makers earlier this year. China is the world's largest new energy vehicle market, but sales of electric motors plummeted 34% on year in September, according to the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, or CAM. The Ministry of Industry and Information Technology's draft proposal said China should seek to ensure 1 in 4 of all vehicles sold in 2025 were either hybrids or fully electric vehicles. The measures are partly to ensure the country meets its air pollution targets and to reduce Beijing's dependence on imported oil. A Japanese woman whose campaign against mandatory high heels in the workplace won broad public support has stepped up her fight against strict corporate dress codes, including a de facto ban on women wearing glasses. Actress and freelance writer Yumi Ishikawa shot to prominence this year with her drive against Japanese office and culture, in which high heels are seen as near obligatory when job hunting or working in the office. Now known by the slogan #Kutsu, a play on words from the Japanese word kutsu, meaning shoes, and kutsu, meaning pain, the campaign was chosen on Monday as one of the buzzwords of the year. Ishikawa's latest petition to relax the rules, delivered to the Labor Ministry on Tuesday, has attracted more than 31,000 signatures.
やっぱりメガネ禁止とか化粧をしなきゃいけないとか、女性のみにその見た目ですよねの、美しさというか必要以上にちゃんとしているマナー以上に求められているものっていうものに対してやっぱりもう見直していかないといけないんじゃないかなと思っています。
An official at a major employment agency said that companies Companies asked receptionists to refrain from wearing glasses as part of dress codes. That also included a ban on dyed hair or unmanicured nails. Campaigners have said high heels are akin to modern foot binding, while others have urged other dress codes, such as the near-total donning of business suits for men, to be loosened in the Japanese workplace.
特にお化粧っていうのは本当に多かったんですけど、あとはスカート、タイトスカートで働かせられることに対してとか、やっぱ動きづらいですので、なのに制服がそれしかないっていう状況っていうのはすごく多く聞かれましたね。市民がですね、運動をここまでやっても動いてくれなくてとても悔しいというか、こういうのって本当は国が一番にやらなきゃいけないことなんじゃないのかと思っています。
All right, in other news, vendors from a spectrum of Vancouver-based Filipino talent share their culture through a Filipino market called Magkasama. Archie Rose Natividad reports.
Magkasama means come together in the Filipino Tagalog language, and many Filipinos have gathered together to share their influence in the community. Magkasama 604, a modern Filipino market, has brought together vendors from all corners of Vancouver to highlight Filipino cuisine, arts, and culture in the city.
Launched by Layunin, a Filipino pop-up restaurant, and Shameless Buns, a Filipino food truck, the event featured over 24 entrepreneurs serving Filipino-inspired food, drinks, art displays, and many more. Event organizer Andrew Alojado shared the significance of bringing the modern-day Filipino market to the community.
And I feel like in the last 20-something years, our community kind of slipped off and has been doing their own thing. And not only that, the Filipino community, when they do events, people like me, who's a little bit younger, I don't hear about them. So I wanted to do something on a bigger scale that promotes local businesses, local Filipinos who are just creating a name for themselves. And they were talking about this market and what it really meant to them and how it means for their community.
There are about 150,000 Filipinos living in Vancouver, making up almost 20% of the Filipino population in Canada. Isabel Fernandez, owner of Calligraphy, shed light on how this collaboration brings awareness to Filipino representation.
Having a collaborative event like this is actually super duper important for our community. Filipinos make up a huge chunk of the population here in the greater Vancouver area, but it's actually one of the only communities that doesn't have its own community resource center. We don't have a big community gathering place, but as Filipinos, it's nice that we're finally gathering together and coming together, because as long as we support each other and as long as we come together for things like this, the more we're going to be seen by everybody else.
In the spirit of Bayanihan, what better way to give back to the community at large than to support the livelihood of indigenous coffee growers in the Philippines? Iona Santos Fresnoza shared with us on bridging the connection between farmers in the Philippines and the coffee lovers of Vancouver.
So my business is called Kape. It's a Philippine word for coffee, and we're a social enterprise that helps indigenous women farmers in promoting their coffee. And our business model is really simple. We source directly from the farmers. It's relationship based so that the farmers get more out of that, and we purchase their coffee at above market prices so that farmers can have a meaningful livelihood, and we get their coffee in small batches and roast it here in East End. Some coffee as a means to bridge culture and bring about meaningful conversations.
A taste of the Philippines is not far with scrumptious favorites like Ensaymada, now available in Vancouver. Cecile Remedio spoke on educating the youth about Filipino history through food and what it means to give back a piece of home to Filipino Canadians today.
There are
are a lot of Filipinos who migrated in Canada, and a lot of them actually are very young, so they don't know anything about the Philippines and the history as well, of course, our food. So I think it's good that we're able to help the young ones learn about our food, and then of course the not so young ones. So they're saying that, oh, I don't miss Philippines anymore. I don't get homesick anymore because we have ensaymada like the Philippines. That's what my friends and customers are saying.
Anthony Bourdain once called Filipinos the most giving people on the planet. And Magkasama 604 shows that Filipinos are passionate about sharing their culture, generously giving a piece of themselves to the community. Reporting from Vancouver for Eagle News, my name is Archie Rose Natividad Yi, and I'm 1 with 25.
Thank you, Archie Rose, and that's the news for tonight. Join us online and here again tomorrow evening. From all of us here at Eagle News, I'm Alma Angeles, always 1 with 25. Good night.
Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Bata pa lang po ako, pangarap ko na po maging singer. Sumali na po ako sa iba't ibang singing contest. Minsan panalo, minsan talo. Parang buhay ko lang, minsan masaya, minsan malungkot. Pero tulad ng isang kanta, maiksi man, pero may kabuluhan.